You don't need to speak to command respect. You don't need to talk to own a room. And you definitely don't need words to make her obsessed with you. Real power is silent. Real presence doesn't beg to be noticed. It's felt, it's seen, it's respected without a single word. Today, I'll break down 10 things that make a man insanely attractive without ever opening his mouth. Let's dive in. 1. The silent confidence that commands a room. You don't need to be the loudest man in the room to be the most powerful. In fact, it's often the opposite. A man with true inner confidence doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He walks in with a calm, collected energy that people feel before he says a word. That's what draws women in, this aura of grounded certainty that tells them, this man knows exactly who he is. Silent confidence isn't about arrogance, it's about emotional stability, the ability to stay centered no matter what's happening around you. It's the guy who doesn't flinch when someone tests him, doesn't brag to seek validation, and doesn't chase attention. He simply is. His energy speaks louder than any words ever could. Women are wired to feel safety and strength. When you embody silent confidence, you radiate both. You're not desperate for approval. You're not trying to impress. And that's exactly what makes you magnetic. She can tell you're not performing for her. You're just being you, and that's rare. This kind of presence is built through self-mastery, through discipline, through controlling your emotions, through developing a purpose bigger than trying to be liked. That's how you stop being the man who seeks attraction and become the man who commands it. Because real power doesn't make noise, it makes impact. And when you learn to walk with that silent power, people follow, including her. 2. Control over emotions, not controlled by them. A man who can control his emotions instantly stands out in a world where most people react like children. Women test, life tests. The moment you lose emotional control, whether it's anger, neediness, or jealousy, you show that you're not in charge of yourself. And if you can't lead yourself, how can you lead her? Stoic attraction isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally disciplined. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she says something to provoke you, you stay calm. When she flirts with drama, you respond with silence or detachment. Not because you're cold, but because your peace is too expensive to trade. This emotional strength creates polarity. It tells her, you can feel whatever you want, I remain grounded. That's deeply attractive because it gives her the space to be feminine while respecting your masculine calm. Women crave emotional safety, and oddly enough, that safety comes not from cuddles and words, but from your unwavering presence. You don't collapse under pressure. You don't seek validation. You remain composed, even if the storm rages. Control over emotions is power, it's leadership, it's seduction. When she sees that she can't shake your frame, she'll either elevate herself to meet you or obsess over trying. Either way, you win. 3. Mysterious intentions and an unreadable mind. A man who is easy to read is easy to control, and women don't obsess over what they fully understand. They obsess over what they can't figure out. Mystery is magnetism. You don't need to lie or play games. You just need to keep certain things to yourself. Your next move, your true intentions, your emotional responses, they should all remain filtered. Give her just enough to stay curious, but never enough to feel certain. When a man reveals too much too soon, it kills the tension. She doesn't want to know how much you like her after 2 dates. She doesn't want your entire life story spilled over one dinner. She wants to wonder, does he really like me, or is he just being kind? That mystery keeps her invested. Being unreadable doesn't mean being cold. It means being intentional with your energy. You don't give emotional access easily. You don't broadcast your weaknesses. You don't make her the center of your world. That tension creates chase, and chase creates obsession. You want her lying awake at night thinking, what is he thinking? Is he into me or not? That's when she's hooked. That's when she starts investing emotionally. So remember this: never let her fully decode you. When she feels like there's always more to discover about you, she stays engaged. Because the unknown triggers imagination, and imagination is more addictive than reality. 4. Mastery of silence and strategic speech. Most men talk too much. They over-explain. They try to justify. They fill every silence with noise because they're uncomfortable with stillness. But a man who speaks little, and only when necessary, commands instant respect. Silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It forces people to lean in, to fill the gap with their own imagination. And in relationships, that's powerful. When you pause before responding, when you leave a little space between her question and your answer, it makes her more attentive. She listens more carefully. She becomes more invested. Strategic speech means your words carry weight. You don't speak to impress. You speak to express authority, direction, and calm control. You don't argue to prove a point. You lead with clarity and then let the silence do the heavy lifting. This kind of verbal discipline shows high value. It tells her, I'm not here to perform. I don't need your approval. I speak when it matters. That's rare. That's alpha. Even in conflict, the most powerful move is often to say nothing, let her emotional storm blow through, then respond with calm certainty, not from ego, but from groundedness. That contrast between her emotional spikes and your stillness creates respect, and often intense attraction. Talk less, mean more. Be the man whose words feel like actions and whose silence speaks volumes. That's how you dominate a room and a woman's mind. 5. Women chase the man who walks away. When a man has the strength to walk away, he instantly becomes more attractive. Why? Because walking away is the ultimate demonstration of self-respect. It shows that he won't tolerate disrespect, games, or mediocrity. He doesn't beg. He doesn't cling. He chooses himself first. And that confidence creates a powerful emotional shift. Suddenly, the woman starts to question what she lost. Women are instinctively drawn to men who value themselves above the approval of others. When a man is willing to leave rather than compromise his worth, he triggers a deep psychological response in her: curiosity, desire, and fear of loss. It's not manipulation, it's standards. A man who knows his value never fears solitude. He understands that walking away from the wrong situation opens the door for the right one. In the world of attraction, walking away is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about standing on principle. It's about refusing to play emotional tug-of-war. Ironically, this distance often causes her to re-evaluate everything. She starts chasing the man who once pursued her because now he's rare, unavailable, and rooted in strength. Men who walk away do so with power, not because they don't care, but because they care more about peace, dignity, and alignment. This kind of man doesn't need to chase. He creates gravity. He becomes the storm she can't ignore. When he walks away, she doesn't just see a man leaving. She sees everything she couldn't control. 6. Mystery is magnetic. Mystery isn't about being distant, it's about being layered. A mysterious man never reveals everything at once. He speaks with intention, not excess. He answers questions without over-explaining. He lets his silence do some of the talking. This makes people lean in, especially women, because what's unknown is always more exciting than what's predictable. Mystery makes a woman feel like she's peeling back pages of a novel she can't put down. Every interaction feels like a clue. Every conversation leaves her wanting more. It builds tension, curiosity, and emotional suspense, three critical components of attraction. When a man is mysterious, she doesn't just want him, she wants to understand him, and that desire keeps her engaged. But here's the key: being mysterious isn't pretending to be someone you're not. It's being so confident in who you are that you don't feel the need to constantly explain or prove anything. It's about knowing your presence speaks louder than your words. A mysterious man doesn't rush to fill the silence. He doesn't reveal all his cards on the first date. He lets her wonder, lets her imagine, and lets her invest emotionally by trying to figure him out. This kind of man becomes unforgettable. He stands out from the crowd of men trying to impress. Instead, he holds back just enough to keep her chasing. In a world obsessed with oversharing, mystery is magnetic. It creates space for fantasy, for allure, for obsession. And that's where true attraction lives. 7. She feels you, not just hears you. A man becomes unforgettable not by what he says, but by what she feels when he enters the room. True attraction isn't built on words, it's built on energy. It's the calm confidence in your body language, the steady tone in your voice, and the way your presence makes her feel emotionally safe and subtly challenged at the same time. Women are incredibly attuned to emotional undercurrents. They don't just listen to what you say, they feel who you are. If your words say one thing, but your vibe says insecurity or neediness, she'll sense it instantly. On the flip side, when you speak with conviction, when your silence is powerful, when your gaze is calm and centered, she'll feel that. She'll feel your grounded masculinity, and it'll stir something deep in her. This is why emotional control is key. A man who regulates his emotions commands attention without trying. He doesn't get reactive. He doesn't seek validation. He leads with presence, not persuasion. And that presence creates emotional gravity. When a woman feels you on that level, her attraction intensifies. Because now it's not just about liking you, it's about being drawn into your world. She starts to feel different around you, calmer, more feminine, more alive. And those feelings, not your words, are what she chases. Always remember, a man who can master the energy he gives off doesn't need to convince her of anything. She just feels it, and that's enough. 8. Indifference is power. Indifference doesn't mean you don't care, it means you don't need the outcome. And that mindset is incredibly attractive. A man who is indifferent to validation, approval, or chasing outcomes shows that his sense of self is unshakable. He's not cold, he's centered. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't beg. He allows people to come and go without clinging. That's strength, and women notice it immediately. When a man is emotionally indifferent, he becomes unpredictable in the best way. He doesn't get rattled when she pulls away. He doesn't reward bad behavior. He keeps moving forward, focused on his purpose. And that quiet detachment builds tension, respect, and curiosity. It says, "I like you, but I don't need you." This flips the script in the dating dynamic. Instead of trying to earn her affection, he becomes the one she wants to impress. Because women are biologically wired to chase what isn't guaranteed. And a man who's indifferent to her games or validation becomes the challenge she didn't expect. But here's the catch. Indifference must come from inner peace, not bitterness. It's not pretending not to care, it's genuinely being okay with whatever happens. That level of control is magnetic. It shows that your world doesn't revolve around her attention. You're already fulfilled. Women fall harder for men who aren't emotionally reactive. Because in a world full of desperate energy, indifference stands out. It's not about playing games, it's about mastering your emotional state. And that, brother, is power. 9. Self-control is pure masculine energy. A man who can control himself, his urges, his words, his actions, radiates pure masculine energy. In a world that rewards instant gratification and emotional outbursts, a man who remains composed becomes rare and desirable. Self-control is not about suppression, it's about discipline. It's the ability to pause, reflect, and act with intention. That restraint creates an undeniable presence that women respect and crave. When a man has self-control, he doesn't fold under pressure. He doesn't chase after every temptation. He doesn't react when provoked. Instead, he observes, he listens, and he moves strategically. That patience is power. It sends a message. I am not ruled by impulse. I choose my path. This control isn't limited to your emotions. It extends to your lifestyle, habits, and goals. Whether it's in how you handle rejection, how you manage your time, or how you express your desire, discipline creates respect. And that respect turns into desire. Because women instinctively know if a man can lead himself, he can lead them. Masculinity isn't loud. It's calm, measured, and deliberate. And self-control is the fuel that powers it. It creates a sense of stability and security. It tells her she's dealing with a man who's not easily swayed, a man who's focused, and a man who doesn't crumble under emotions. A man in control of himself becomes a man in control of his world. And that energy, that's what she feels deep in her body. That's what draws her in, again and again. 10. Detachment creates freedom and obsession. Detachment is the highest form of self-respect. It means you're emotionally free, not because you don't care, but because you refuse to be controlled. And when a man masters detachment, he becomes dangerous in the most attractive way. Women can't manipulate him, can't guilt-trip him, can't sway him with emotional chaos. He stands firm. He's free. And that kind of man, he becomes an obsession. Here's why. Detachment breaks the emotional pattern most women are used to. When she expects a man to chase and instead he leans back, she gets confused, curious, pulled in. She starts to ask questions. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he begging? That emotional disruption plants a seed of intrigue, and attraction always grows from curiosity. But let's be clear, detachment isn't passive. It's powerful. It's choosing not to engage in drama. It's walking away when your peace is threatened. It's prioritizing your values over temporary pleasure. That discipline rewires the dynamic. She stops leading. She starts chasing. A detached man isn't cold. He's clear. He knows what he wants and what he'll never tolerate. And in that clarity, he creates space for the right woman to rise. A woman who respects his boundaries, who values his peace, who sees that detachment not as distance, but as strength. In the end, detachment is magnetic because it communicates this one powerful truth. I am whole, with or without you. And when a man lives from that truth, he doesn't need to chase love. Love chases him. If you made it this far, then you're already ahead of most men. Because understanding attraction isn't about cheesy lines or surface-level tricks. It's about mastering yourself. That's the foundation. That's the secret. You don't need to be flashy. You don't need to be the loudest guy in the room. What you need is self-respect, emotional control, purpose, and presence. That's what makes women feel drawn to you without knowing why. That's what makes them obsessed, not with your words, but with your energy. Each of these attraction points leads back to one core truth. When you operate from your center, when you stay grounded no matter what she does, you become the one thing she can't control, and that makes you unforgettable. So don't chase, don't explain, don't try to prove your worth. Live it, embody it, let your life speak for itself. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more straight-talking wisdom on power, presence, and mastering the masculine frame. We're not here to play games. We're here to build men of substance, men of depth, and men who lead with calm strength. Stay sharp, stay stoic, and remember, you are the prize. She doesn't need to hear it. She needs to feel it. Keep walking like a man who already knows. Until next time, be the calm in the chaos. Subscribe now. Your future self will thank you.